Viet Nam, the place where the war was fought and the dong is its currency. Or is it Viet Nam? You might have seen it spelled both ways, but what exactly is the difference? Did some guy just say, hey, let's change it? Or was there something more? Despite how we might spell it in English, it is spelled with two separate words according to both the Vietnamese government and the United Nations. To find the origin of this name, we need to take a trip back to approximately 200 BCE in China, when the name Viet Nam was first used, except in the opposite order. Nam Viet's origins lay in the Chinese language. To the Chinese, there was a region called Yu, or Viet. Despite the fact that the region was fairly ambiguous and constantly evolved over the centuries, around the 2nd and 3rd centuries before Common Era, it referred to the areas of South and Southwest China, along with Northern Indochina. The only reason the name ever came into noticeable existence was because a kingdom, which was more like a vassal state of China, of the same name was established. At the time, Nam Viet roughly translated to South Yu. As the name implies, it encompassed the southern portion of the Yu region, some of which is what we now call Vietnam. All this explains the origins of the name, but how did it end up becoming one word? The answer is actually very simple. Despite a brief stint of using the name Vietnam in the early 19th century, the name Vietnam gained popularity after a 1930 uprising against the French colonialists. The name was adopted as the country's name after the end of French Indochina, and the reason why we might write it as one word is because of anglicization. We do it all the time in English, so much so that other languages often pick up on it. Names are anglicized to make it easier to pronounce. For example, Pope John Paul II was an anglicization of Pope Johann Paulus II. Donald, son of Constantine, not Constantine the Great, just some Scottish knockoff, his real name was Domnall mac Cosatin. Famous people are not the only people to be affected by this. Immigrants from all over coming to an English-speaking country were given similar English names. San Giovanni was changed to St. John, Yanzon to Johnson, and so on and so forth. Anyways, Vietnam and Vietnam are perfectly acceptable, although the one with the space is more authentic, but not really authentic at all when you consider tonal marks and other stuff. So in all simplicity, it was two words used by the Chinese, which were later used by some Indo-Chinese under French rule, which were then morphed into one word by English speakers. Another interesting tidbit is that Viet Cong, a communist American opponent in the Vietnam War, translates to Public Viet. Speaking of different names, why are words like color sometimes spelled with a U and sometimes not? And is the ending of center ER or RE? Watch this video on English spelling differences to find out. Thanks for watching.